Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. For those who are new, welcome. My name is Monica, and for those who are not new, welcome back. It's great to see you here again. And in today's video, I am going to jump on that bandwagon and give you a list of books that I thought I was going to not like, but I read anyway, and I ended up loving. So I've seen this around. I know Michae did it. I just watched Samantha's video, and I will actually link all the ones that I've found down below so you can check them out too. They are fantastic. I love this idea. So here's some of the books that I read that I thought I was going to hate, but I read them because of book clubs and stuff, and I actually ended up loving them, or someone pushed me to read them. So here's the thing. I was pushed to read A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas, and I thought I was going to hate it because I am not a fantasy reader. I haven't been, although lately fantasy's been doing it for me, but I have, like, I've read Cassandra Clare way back when, but I'm more of a paranormal romance person. Like, give me vampires and humans any day of the week, like Lothair. But so I was really putting off Sarah J. Maas because I know she was really very much fantasy romance, and I wasn't sold on her. So, but everybody was like, you gotta, I had a lot of people tell me I needed to read A Court of Thorns and Roses in the entire series. And honestly, it took them about 3 chapters, but then I got into it and I was like, okay, now I can understand why this is such a beloved series. I know people didn't like Tamlin. I actually liked Tamlin. I think he needs a redemption arc, and I think that Sarah J. Maas should write his redemption arc, but I loved the representation of PTSD that she put into her books. I loved how the world building was very, very well done. I loved how you had the really bad characters and the really good characters, and then you had a lot of the morally gray characters. And so this was quite a ride, and I loved every minute of it. So I am so glad everybody pushed me to read A Court of Thorns and Roses, because now I'm more into fantasy than I used to be. So anyway, the next book is actually on my favorites list, and I was surprised that I liked it. And the reason why is I read one of her books a while ago. It's like a couple years ago, and I hated it so much I actually DNF'd it, and I refused to pick up anything because I hated the characters, and I didn't like the plot. So I was like, no, I don't think this person's for me. But then everybody was talking about In a Jam by Kate Canterbury, and I was like, okay, so I'm gonna give this a go. And I picked up the audiobook because it's Jason Clarke. Like, Jason Clarke is fantastic. He's one of my favorites. But here's the thing with Jason Clarke. He did not save the last book that I tried to read from her, but he elevated In a Jam, and I loved every second of this. I loved the characters. I loved the dynamic between the hero and the heroine, and I'm not going to attempt to try to remember their names because right now I can barely remember my own name. It's been a day. But anyway, I loved the fact that Shay and Noah had this connection when they were younger, but they didn't, like, he didn't tell her that he loved her. I loved that he was really grumpy and he was kind of mad at her, even though he really didn't have a leg to stand on. I loved the whole small town dynamic. I loved his niece and her cosplaying as a pirate. And I loved the fact that she swore like a pirate, like a sailor. It was fantastic. But the fact is this book had a lot of heart, and the way they talked to each other and about each other in this book was just so well done. I love the characterization. The pacing was on point, and the narration was just so good. I loved the character growths. This is a great book. I enjoyed every minute of it, and it was my favorite read of January, I think it was, that I read it. Anyway, I highly recommend In a Jam by Kate Canterbury, and I was very pleasantly surprised that I loved this one. So I guess the next 3 are really taboo. Here's the thing with the next one is I am very picky over my taboo romances. I have to believe that they're real, that this could really happen in a way that is not horrible. Like, I've read taboo romances where they didn't connect on a very deeper level, I should say, yeah, a deeper level. And not only that, is that there was a very much big empower imbalances, and that just throws me off. I do not like that. But one that I really don't generally go towards is student teacher or student guidance counselor, because that's just a big no-no in real life. You just don't do that. That's just horrible. The thing is I took Michae's recommendation and read Sweet Dandelion, and holy crap, this was so good. Danny she was traumatized. Spoiler, she survived a school shooting, and she saw her mother get killed in that school shooting, and she barely survived it. She's a runner, and she can no longer run because of the injuries she sustained in that school shooting, and it made her grow up fast. So she's like a year behind. She should have graduated by now, but she had to repeat her senior year because of what happened. And now she lives in Salt Lake City with her brother, and she has to go see her guidance counselor to do basically therapy to make sure that she is emotionally and mentally okay while she is dealing with a repeat of a senior year in a school after surviving a school shooting. And she does have PTSD in this, and she is depressed, so be very aware of this. Danny really grows in this book. I actually felt like Lachlan was a little more immature than she was, but Lachlan had some stuff that he had to deal with. And this is definitely slower, and it should have been slower. The way Macaulay and Smeltzer wrote this book, and the way she told the story was just beautiful. I loved how they both gave each other room to grow and room to mature, the way they needed to, and they eventually, and how they came together in the end. I love that they fought it. They were not like, we're just gonna do this. No, they fought it tooth and nail. And I love that he sacrificed time with her so she could figure out what she needed out of life. That is an incredibly mature thing to do. Again, I really didn't think I was gonna like this, simply because I don't do student teacher. That's icky to me. But Michae said this one wasn't icky. This one was really good. So I decided to pick it up, and I am glad I did. This one was really good, and I'm glad I got to read Danny and Lachlan's story. So the other one that I read, and this one was because of Jess from Peace Love Books. She was talking up Gianna Darling. Now I have I think this is like the Hello Lovely version of Welcome to the Dark Side. So I didn't think I was gonna like this one, but I loved it because the age gap. So like I said, there's got to be a power balance where this either emotional, or there's this deeper connection, or that they're both mature, or they're both immature. Yeah, there has to be a way that they fit together in order for an age gap or taboo to really work. This is a very extreme age gap. I think he's like 38 and she's 17, 18 years old. It actually saves her life when she's 7 years old. And then it struck up a friendship. She used to call him her guardian monster. And yes, he's actually was in jail for murder when she was writing him. She is a preacher's daughter. Her dad, or granddaughter, I should say, her dad is the mayor, and he is actually pretty worse than Zeus. Zeus is the motorcycle president. And anyway, so yeah, he goes to jail for murder after he saves her life when she was 7, but comes to find out she has cancer, so be aware of that. And she ends up getting better, but then when she turns like 16, 17, the cancer comes back. And honestly, that really matured her. The way her parents treated her matured her. He treated her with respect and love the way no one else had actually treated her. They treated her like she was a doll, that she was a commodity. He treated her like a human being, and she treated him like he mattered. She went from one extreme to the other, but understanding that when you feel like you're going to die, because she literally could have died from the treatment for her cancer, or I mean, there are people who are trying to kill them. She was like, nope, I love you and we're going to be together. This was very much soulmates. And that's why it worked for me. Anyway, so Welcome to the Dark Side is another one that I did not think I was going to like because of the age gap. And because I read Lessons in Corruptions first, and I didn't like it because I was student teacher. But I decided to give Welcome to the Dark Side a go, and I absolutely loved it. So yes, everybody was talking about the sauna scene in Corrupt, and yes, that one was very interesting. However, my personal favorite is Kill Switch by Penelope Douglas. I did not think I was gonna like the entire series. Like the Devil's Night series, I did not think I was gonna like because I don't like bully romances generally. However, Damon, I love me a good anti-hero, and I love me a good redemption arc. And Damon's redemption arc and how he goes and becomes the person he becomes with Winter is just so fantastic. I loved his character after reading Kill Switch. Like, I couldn't stand him from Corrupt all the way to Kill Switch until probably like the 10-15% mark of Kill Switch. Then I was like, okay, I know where this is going and I approve. He's still a villain. Like, he's still a villain. Damon is not a good guy. He is incredibly morally gray. What he does to people is not good, but the way he is with Winter is so breathtaking. And I didn't think I was gonna love this, but I did. This was so good. So this is another one. So the last one is a series. I didn't think I was gonna like them because they were hyped, and I just wasn't sure about them. But it was Twisted Love, and then Twisted Games, Twisted Lies, and Twisted Hate. Or I should say Twisted Hate, then Twisted Lies. Here's the thing with these big girls. I love the characterizations. I love the friend group. I love how they played off to one another. And there is definitely heart, and there's angst. There's morally gray characters. There's royalty, like Twisted Games is a princess turned queen, or she'll become queen. And her bodyguard, and I love that, and I love the fact that she wrote it because of Princess Diaries too. And I loved Christian, we started off with a villain and ended with a villain. But I thought this was a great way to sandwich or bookend, or however you want to say it, a very good series. So they're not for everybody, but they're for me. I did not think I would like them, but I did. My personal favorite is Twisted Games and Twisted Lies. I know everybody loves Josh Chen, but he kind of bothered me a little bit. And Jules, I liked Jules. She was a very strong character, and I love her character. I think she could have kicked Josh's butt more. That would have been fun to read. But anyway, so those were some of the ones that worked for me that I did not think was going to work. And I am going to definitely be doing the opposite tag of books that I read that I thought I was going to love that I didn't, unfortunately. But I'll probably do that either next week or next month. But anyway, if you've made it this far in this video, please leave me a heart emoji, since a few of these were very much anti-heroes. And until next time, my friends, happy reading. Bye, everybody.